Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Hello and welcome to Series 4 of Property Elevator. In this show, we give budding developers the chance to pitch their deals to our 5 seasoned property professionals, or who we call our property investment angels. These are John Howard, our chair angel, Helen Chorley, our number cruncher, Nicholas Wallwork, our creative thinker, Paul Mahoney, our investor from Down Under, and Ranjan Bhattacharya, our YouTuber. Now, we know that property is not a game for the faint-hearted. With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds at stake, yes, the rewards can be great, but if it goes wrong, it can go very wrong very quickly. This is why it's fantastic that not only could you walk away with the financial backing of one of our angels, but you also get their expert knowledge, which we know is just as important. So with that being said, let's do some deals.
Do you know how high on the price you can go? What number does it not stack at anymore?
But what is the actual investment you're looking for from us? It's not a million, is it?
And if you can do 1-bedroom flats for 26k a flat, I'll actually give you 35k and you can do mine.
But it is an added risk and you can't rely on it. Even if I think it's a really good deal, I never, ever, ever go in at asking price.
We've got lots more exciting pictures to get through today. I have a feeling you're going to enjoy this one.
We're Kevin and Lena Chapman. We're from just outside Basingstoke.
Yep.
And the deal that we've bought is a beautiful Georgian building in Surrey. We're going to hopefully convert that into a series of flats, 2-bed flats.
And so have you done anything like this before, or is this kind of the next step up for you in property?
For commercials, this is our first commercial property, but
Okay.
we've done various renovations to our own properties and other residential properties as well, which we've upgraded and then flipped on for a profit.
Yep.
And recently we just finished renovating a Grade 2 mill.
Oh, wow. I bet you that was an excellent project.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this now full-time for you, or do you still have other jobs?
Kevin is full-time. I'm a head of analytics for a health and lifestyle tech company.
Okay.
So I'm still,
Still
working.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bring in the maths and Kevin bring in the creativity because
You say that, yeah. Well, yeah, because my past history was as a TV director and producer for Formula One for many years. So since COVID, I decided that I wanted to have a change in lifestyle. So I'm now full-time into commercial property, enjoying my hobbies like collecting 911 Porsches, and I'm learning to be a beekeeper.
Well, good luck then.
Thank you.
We'll get you in a moment, and I'll have a little chat when you come back out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Lena and Kevin, thank you so much for coming in today. Let's hear all about it, please.
Hello, we are Kevin and Lena Chapman. We're the husband and wife team of Make Property Investments. The property we've bought you today is a Class MA in Surrey. So we are looking to convert, it's a Georgian building, to convert it into a series of 2-bed flats. In Ranjan's terms, it's a slam dunk Class MA.
Yes, we're looking for 500,000 of investment funds for a 50% equity share.
This building then, it's a beautiful building, as you can see. It has lots and lots of gorgeous features. And the main attributes of it with regards to the Class MA is the fact that we can retain all of the external design of it and create obviously something inside that we can get through planning on a more assured basis.
Yes, and we've already consulted the local planning officer, and we've done all due diligence against those, and he's very happy that the MA will be passed.
We've employed a planning consultant, and he said yes, this will go through as a MA. We've also included advice, which we paid for a QS to give us all of the finances behind the build, so there's not guesswork. This is properly orchestrated and looked at.
So we've got 500,000 to put into the share, same as yourself. That comes from some savings and also second charge on our residential home. But we've also got bridging loans for the purchase and renovation agreed in principle. So we can finance this deal ourselves, but we're here because we actually would love to have you work with you and help us on a journey, because actually this is our first commercial to resident, first commercial opportunity that we want to take on.
Great presentation, and you obviously both very, very talented people. So who would like to start first?
Interested in why you decided to go for, say, an all two-bed scheme rather than a mix, or, you know, usually when you've got the benefit of PD, you're trying to maximise the number of units. In this case, you've not done that. I've got a few suspicions why, but I'd like to hear your reasons. It's refreshing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. So, well, John picked up on that point there. It's refreshing. We as a partnership don't really want to cram as many people into a property as possible. We want to give people a quality of life. Yep. And also the property that we've got there, it's right on the margin of actually doing two-bedders. It's 61, 62 square metres per unit. We can't really cram in those 37 or 39, whatever. So the building doesn't suit that. The environment where the building is doesn't suit that. So in the town that this property sits, we've done a lot of due diligence and spoken to the agents, and it really is a place where flats are sought after, but they're places for families or young professionals to rent, not necessarily buy. The purchase market's quite slow, but the rental market is red hot because it's right next to a change station straight into London.
Double income, no kids. That's what you're talking about here, which are called dinkies. And I can see why this would be attractive to them, being near the station, like you said, and so on. So that's very interesting. And it is refreshing to hear someone who doesn't want to. A lot of these educators are teaching people to squeeze every little ounce out of a development to make it work. And you know what? If you've got to squeeze every little ounce to make it work, it isn't worth doing, and I'm not interested. And you've come in here with a very sensible attitude, and you know that's down to you. It's not down to Ranjan.
You've got to go with the flow with the building. You can't force too many units.
Not everyone teaches that, Ranjan.
Just a question on the finance. So if we were to come in, essentially reduce the amount of cash that we each need to put into the deal, which is ideal for everyone, and increase that 700,000 a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. We're open to opportunities. We're not financial experts. You know, this is our first big scale property, you know, that we could do. So this is where we want to lean on you guys. We can go and do this ourselves. But what's the risk? Well, look at page 7, 8 and 9. You know, there is a risk, and the finance for us is a big chunk of money. Of course, So we could overborrow, but we prefer to do joint ventures and leverage.
Of course, and look, obviously there's a cost to borrowing. You know, that cost might be 7 or 8%. But hopefully we can do better than that with our money.
Absolutely.
So if we can,
and we'd rather give you
utilise
guys
someone else's money than brilliant.
Yeah, we'd rather
also,
give you
I love
guys
the fact
money.
that you collect 911s. I've got a 911.
Fantastic.
Ranjan does too. So
fantastic.
We're all on the same page.
So a question on the numbers. So you've got the purchase prices 750, right?
Yes.
Do you know how high on the price you can go? What number does it not stack at anymore?
Well, we looked at the numbers, didn't we?
Yeah, with the QS, he suggested that we could go up to 850, so an extra 100,000. However, the margin drops down to about 20%, which he says for the bridging loan companies that's acceptable. However, that's the profit on cost, but the margin, which is profit on GDV, goes down to like 17%, and we want to retain and rent out on a mortgage, so we really need to be looking at around 25%. So there's just too much money left in the deal.
And you have the GDV as 350 per flat.
Correct.
The comparables that you've got are slightly higher than that. That's just you being cautious?
Yes, it is. Also, we don't have parking for this one, and some of those do. Ours is a conversion flat. Of course, it'll be done to modern standards and with quite a lot of trick smart stuff in. So in our costings, we've put in electric heating with independent rooms that can be warmed and heated on an app, because that's the sort of people we want to go for. You know, but they won't necessarily have cars. So we've taken a conservative balance. We know that they will be worth more than that, but we are not risk averse, but we like to know where we are. We draw a line in the sand, and that's it.
What's the rental income?
1,800 easily achievable for a two-bed flat.
Yeah,
Pardon
per
me?
flat.
Per flat, yeah.
Yeah.
So about 150,000 a year
Yeah.
before voids. What rental return are we going to get on your figures at the end if we retain that, because you want to retain the whole thing? What is the yield?
The yield works out to just over 7%.
All this effort, risk and effort, for a 7% yield at the end.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What percentage basis are you working that you would refinance at of the 2.45 GDV?
We're aiming for 25%.
Okay.
So
75%.
75% loan to value, yes.
Okay.
Get you about 1.8 million.
And does that wash its face?
Well, you've got costs of 1.78, so we're
it's
getting
really
kind of tight.
It's tight for that, yeah.
One question actually you have broken down as well, SANG, which is a contribution that is now to the councils for I think it's sustainable
and natural green space.
Green space.
Yeah.
And then you also have something called a SAM, which SAMM, which is the ongoing management of that. Do you know what that is on a yearly basis? The cost of the SAM?
I think it was 460 per property.
At best, it's a 7% yield. Okay, for all the effort and the worry and the time this is going to take, you can go and buy a project on a 7% yield. And if you need any help with that, come and see me. We can do it. So that's the first thing. So I don't see this as a long-term investment, because I just think, you know, it's for all the effort, you're going to end up with a 7% yield at best.
Yeah.
So I accept the fact that the capital gain would be better here than perhaps in another area. I accept that, and that's one argument for retaining it. So you've got two choices in my view. One is to sell some of the flats and retain the rest, and I like that because I think it's a halfway house. You pay less tax, because you'll make less profit, but you're retaining some of the units, which I think perhaps does work. Or the alternative is what I tend to do, and obviously I'm very experienced at doing these things all day long, conversions, have done for 40 odd years, and that is just to sell them off on 999-year leases, 0 ground rent now because the new rules are coming in.
Yeah.
So the freehold that's retained is worthless now.
Right.
So don't put any money in for the value of the freehold, because all the ground rents have to be at 0 going forward. Now, I can help you do that, very much so. My problem with this is that the return on capital for me is a little bit low. So I'm not going to invest today in this, but I'm very keen to be able to work with you in the future, because you're just the sort of people that I can work with, I can help, and together we can make plenty of money. So thank you for coming in today.
I agree with everything he said about you two. The return on capital just isn't quite there. For that level of capital as well, from my personal perspective, I'd want this to be ticking all the right boxes, which it's not quite from my perspective. So for those reasons, this deal isn't for me, but I'd love to keep in touch with you, and I'd love to be able to do something with you in the future.
Cool, thank you very much.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
I'm with Paul and John on this. Exactly, if there's the price pressure, you know, and I love that you know where your break even or where your limit point on that is, because what we have seen in the past is that people fall in love with it. They do all this work, they put all this effort in, you know, and then they go beyond the limits that they've set themselves because they're overly emotionally invested, and you know where that line in the sand is for you, and I'm really glad you do. But at that rate, I think you know yourselves, like the margins are getting tight, and with kind of the pressures that we've also got on costs, which, you know, we've got another year before kind of we're looking at that stuff as well with what's happened to timber and everything this year, then it's looking, there's not quite enough juice, as Paul said, in it for me. But you two, I think, have blown all of us away. Honestly, you really have. The way you present yourselves, the way you work together, this pack is honestly absolutely outstanding.
Oh,
thank you.
I kind of echo everyone else there. It's a really tricky one because it's a little bit too marginal. So it's not for the deal today. but I'd love to chat to you again because you are highly investable, highly great business partners, and I JV with people on their businesses rather than property deals a lot of the time. So I'd love to explore that conversation with you offline, but great pitch, really impressed.
And I think
thanks for coming in.
Thanks, very flattering.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the other thing is, you know, you invest in the person as much as the deal.
Yeah.
And I think that here is very evident as well.
Exactly.
Very evident. Sorry to butt in, Nicholas.
No, absolutely.
Ranjan.
I forgot Ranjan was here.
As been said, this is a very thorough pack. And I think over these filmings is one of the best packs we've seen. I actually think, I mean, I'm a big fan of these commuter towns outside the M25. I think there's plenty of capital appreciation there in those areas. I actually feel that you have slightly under-egged the potential end values of these things. You've over-egged, I think your QS has over-egged some of the build costs. It works out about 80 grand a flat on these sort of conversions. And I've never done that one for that much, quite frankly, in these sort of areas. So I think there's some potential for getting a bit more juice out of this. Now, you mentioned that you guys have got some money that you can sort of put into this. What I'd propose for you is that we purchased this in a limited company, JV. We put in 50-50. I'll obviously help you with my team to kind of realise the vision that you've got in here. And at the end of that development, we take a decision as to whether it's worth refinancing it, keeping it in that company for 5 years to benefit from the capital appreciation. And we'll do that 50-50. That would be my proposal for you guys.
So you've got an offer. You'll have to negotiate between yourselves, I'm sure, whether or not you wish to accept it or not.
We'd love to, Ranjan.
That would be an honour.
Yes.
Well done, Ranjan. Well done.
Great. Thank you, Ranjan.
Very good.
So, Kevin Lena, how'd it go?
It went really well. I was so scared.
Were you?
Yes.
A couple of minutes in, though, did you kind of loosen up, and did you end up enjoying it in the
They
end?
were really nice. Yeah, I said to Helen, she was the scariest one out for everybody on television, but she's absolutely lovely.
Yes, she is.
But we did get one investor, and that's Ranjan, so that's absolutely brilliant.
And that was kind of who you were hoping for anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So Ranjan is basically saying that we'll set up an SPV company and buy it 50-50, then develop it, and then in 5 years' time see whether we hold it or sell it on for the capital growth. So, but you know what? It's just fantastic meeting all of the angels, and they're a really nice bunch of people. And you know what? Networking it wins every time, doesn't it? So it's lovely to meet everybody.
And best of luck with it. I hope it goes really, really well for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Sayu, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Where have you come from today?
West London today.
Okay, so not too far. Tell us a little bit about the deal that you've brought and the investment that you're after.
Today I've bought a commercial property building.
Okay.
It's currently 2 Class E retail stores,
Right.
with the ability to convert the uppers, which are currently ancillary, into residential.
Brilliant. And what's the location?
In between Kennington and Elephant and Castle. So
Okay.
a strong
other
regenerative, strong regenerative area of kind of the edge of Zone 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Strong capital value, and I'm looking for £1 million of equity investment.
Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to send you in shortly, and I will speak to you when you get out.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Fingers crossed for you.
Thank you so much.
Sayu, thank you very much for coming in today. Well, what have you got for us?
My name's Sayu Sinha. I have got a mixed-use opportunity, which is predominantly commercial on the ground floor, with the ability to increase massing through planning permission on the uppers to create residential. The property is located at the edge of Zone 1/Zone 2 in central London, Elephant and Castle in Kennington, which is a huge regenerative zone. And I'm here to ask for £1 million of equity, with a view to kind of increasing or adding value to the asset through development. One is let to the Salvation Army with 18 months on the lease, and the other to an independent local mum and pop kind of backed furniture store. And they're both 18 months on the lease, about a week apart for termination. Currently generating £116,000 a year with 18 months left on the lease. with a potential to kind of then convert the uppers. I'm going to try and approach this really kind of in two ways. I'm going to address the commercial first, which I think is relatively straightforward, and then I'll come on to the resi. Service Section 26 to the Salvation Army tenants, because they're currently inside the Act, whereas the furniture shop is not. Under Section F of Section 26, I can use the redevelopment clause, which allows me to evict them. Having kind of gone through that process, I would then merge the two retail stores to create a larger commercial footprint, circa 3,300 square feet, which is big enough for a local a local supermarket like a Co-op, potentially a Heron Foods or a Tesco. And I think merging the two units will potentially create more value than keeping them independent and separate. Based on that, I believe the ITZA rate in that area from my research is between £60 and £75 a square foot. This being on a corner unit, I think I can achieve probably the top end of that. And so based on my valuations at £70 a square foot ITZA, I believe I can probably generate in the region of about 110 to 115,000 for the ground floor, on the basis that that is let to a supermarket. I've then applied a 5% cap rate. I've been speaking to a listed fund who are currently buying 15-year leases in supermarkets between 4 and 5%. So I'm pretty confident that I can exit that supermarket on a 15-year basis at 5% or a 20-time multiple. And that values the ground floor at circa 2.25 million. Now on the uppers, this is where I think the agent potentially has got it slightly wrong. I think they've been watching Ranjan's show and have applied a Class MA permitted development right to convert the upper ancillaries into residential, which is absolutely possible, but I think we can be a bit more adventurous and certainly more ambitious than that. My plan with this property would be to mirror the building to the right of it. Mm-hmm. It is also flanked by a 2-story building to the left, and so there is absolute precedent in place in that streetscape to support a 3-story building. The ancillary setback, which is currently 1,400 square feet, which is half of the commercial space. Yep. So if I was to bring that forward through a full planning application and then add 2 extra stories, I believe I can create up to between 8,000 to 9,000 square feet of residential living space. From my research, I've found that the average pound per square foot valuation in that area is circa 725 to 750 pounds. I've applied a really conservative 625 in my calculations to reflect the fact that it is above commercial, and so I've applied a reasonable haircut. And I've applied a £200 a square foot build cost, again with current inflation and potential, kind of increase in kind of material prices. I'd kind of want to be at the higher end. So net, I'm looking at about £350 to £400 a square foot profit on a pound per square foot basis for the residential. And conservatively, if I was to build that up with an additional 8,000 square feet, I see there's probably about £3.5 million of profit in this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Very interesting pitch.
And what council does this fall, or what local authority does it fall under?
Questions.
So this is under Southwark, where there is still a significant housing shortage. It is not in a conservation area, and it is not a listed building. Oh, and one thing I should add, the asking price on this is offers in excess of 1.567, or call it 1.6, which represents a 7% net initial yield. And the numbers that I presented to you base our entry price at 1.8, which is a 6.3% yield. And I feel that we can be a little bit more aggressive, one, in this market, because of the potential profit that is inherent in this opportunity, and with the fact that I've got income for another 18 months, which will help almost kind of reduce the premium.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Tell us, what business are you in at the moment?
I'm in asset management, predominantly around investments focusing on real estate.
I think we could have guessed that, couldn't we?
And with the additional 8,000 square foot of resi, how many units does that translate into?
If I'm absolutely honest, I haven't got that far in my analysis.
Probably 12, I think.
I would guesstimate between 12 and 15.
Is it currently on the market, or is it off market?
So it was off market. It was released off market to a select few on Monday afternoon. I offered the full asking price at the close of that day. The agent feels that he needs to market it for 2 weeks, and so I don't have exclusivity, unfortunately.
Even if I think it's a really good deal, I never, ever, ever go in at asking price, because it signifies to the agent and the client that they've undervalued it.
Yes.
And my advice is always to go in under, make a big fuss and dance about it, and eventually let the agent do her hard work to get you up to the asking price, because then they demonstrating to their client that it's been hard work, managed to get there, you know, well, haven't I done well as the agent? They love telling everyone how good they are.
Yeah.
So rather than making the job easy for them, and now, you know, you're likely to get a best offer situation, even if you are the only best offer. You know, if I was the agent, I'd say, well, we'll have a best offers, wind it up even more. But anyway, that's just my view. Maybe there's other tactics, aren't there? But that's my view. How do you feel, Ranjan?
But I think you're doing a profit including finance of about 35%, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. What project duration do you envisage?
So if I'm totally honest, if I was to do this project, I would probably acquire it, use the income to pay for the planning, and then sell it with the benefit of planning at the end of the lease with VP, which allows, I always feel that you've got to leave a little bit of money on the table for somebody to come in.
Nothing sweet in nothing.
So I think if I take all the fat out of it, you know, it's kind of, I can refinance it and probably hold it within a portfolio. But I think if you look at a time-weighted return of money by holding it for 2 years and getting out relatively quickly, I think I can turn that money again.
Can I just look into the two leases? You say one is inside the 1954 Act, and for everyone watching on television, that means that you have to offer a similar length lease to the tenant once their lease expires. So that could be a big problem for you, obviously, going forward. And I think you said one of the shops was in the 1954 Act and one was outside the Act. Is that right?
Correct. So the Salvation Army are inside the Act.
Okay.
And the furniture store is outside the Act. However, under a Section 26 notice,
which is the redevelopment clause?
Which is the redevelopment clause.
Yep.
I can ask them very politely to leave.
You have, but they can challenge that.
But the problem with that clause, I'm well aware of this, the wording is if the landlord wants to, if the landlord intends to redevelop or demolish the premises, and the meaning of the word intend has been tested in court. And the three things that you have to demonstrate is, one, intention means you have to have the planning permission in place, the funding in place, and the builders ready to do the works. So basically, if you haven't got the planning, you cannot invoke that ground F.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, John's right to pick that up. If they want to stay, you might not have had planning in time, and because the lease is ending next year, they may have already managed to renew the thing.
The other thing, Ranjan, I would say is that the Salvation Army have very, very good advisors. Their advisors are going to be as good as
they're the military, for God's sake. You know.
So, I mean, they are going to have the top advisors.
Yeah.
But
and they don't care what they spend on it. If they want to stay, they'll do their very best to. They don't. Whereas if you and I do the deal, we've got a limit to what we want to spend on everything. They won't, and that would be a challenge. It's not the end of the world, but that would be one of my challenges, flags I would put up as an issue.
You know, but worst case scenario is you don't knock the two into one. You keep them as two. You refurbish the right one, and you have two, different
but
commercial units.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think you're going to have to knock all that front. I think you have to basically demolish the whole lot and start fresh.
Upwards.
Because I think by the time you try and underpin the front to go upstairs and all the rest of it, that's the very first thing to check is whether or not structurally you can go 2 floors above. And I bet you any money you like, you won't be able to do it. They'll have to all come down. You might as well knock the whole lot down and start again. That'll be probably cheaper in the long run, probably messing around, which will give you a much better product, which isn't a bad thing.
What is the actual investment you're looking for from us? It's not $1 million, is it?
No, I've got a soft debt offer at 65% LTV at 6%, so it's significantly lower than that.
I'm glad that you're entertaining the possibility of selling it with planning.
Yeah, I am.
Because I think the build out is complicated, and I think the build out is definitely a knockdown because you'd want concrete construction, concrete floors, and modern to get the maximum values per square foot.
Bang it.
The other things that you've got to take into account when you're doing planning permission is, as we've alluded to, they will force you to do a mix of dwellings. And in London, you'll be subject to the London plan, where 1-bedroom flats are 50 square metres, actually, with planning permission.
Yeah, 12 is the most you're going to get.
And the other issue that you have to consider is that many London councils have additional charges which you don't have to pay with PD, such as small sites contributions of 50k per flat, 50k per extra dwelling. So you need to check that out, because that can torpedo some of these schemes. Because of that. But those are the points I just wanted to add.
Very good. Ranjan, you made really good points there, actually, because I don't do a lot in London. I do some in London, but not anything like the amount you do in London. And actually, you've made some really good points. Some of the costs now are just crazy, aren't they? When you're doing new build, and this is a new build scheme. This isn't PD. So with the kind of the earlier exit to sell with planning permission, what's the value of the site? What's the uplift on it? Good question.
I believe it should be in the region of about 2.6 to 2.75.
Do you know how to underwrite this a little bit?
I've got some ideas, but I'd love to hear yours.
My idea would be to find a tenant before you start and get them signed up on an agreement to lease for the ground floor and sell that opportunity, sell that signed up to the developer, because that helps them raise finance, it helps them, attracts them to the deal more.
So I'm speaking to a supermarket. I put a call in yesterday afternoon, who are currently assessing it against their requirements list. But for me,
the co-op at the moment are very keen on expansion.
That's what I'm talking about.
Are you? Right, okay.
It's not one for me. And the reason is, I don't think I can add any value to it. I think you're too good. There are better people on this panel that are...
I'm glad you said that, Nicholas.
Such as John. And actually, I do think...
Others as well.
On this one, I think John is the perfect partner, personally. And the reason for that is that he can add a lot of value and has a lot of capital to put into something like this right now. And that is your perfect partner. That's what you need.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words.
No problem.
Me personally, I'd only be interested in the selling with planning. I'm not up for a big, long, delayed build out with your amount of problems. I've been there, I've done that too often, seriously. Oh, sleepless nights, no thank you. So you've got $500,000 of profit on a 2.6 GDV, so you've got 90%. And is that achievable in a year?
Again,
I guess you've got income as well, right?
Yeah. That's really, I think that's me being really conservative.
Let's bring us all back down to earth for the benefit of the remaining angels.
Please.
I assume you're not likely to get this subject to planning. So what you are asking is us to take the risk on the planning.
Yes.
So let's just bear that in mind.
From my perspective, the amount of funds going in and the time frame this is likely to take, it's not really something that I'd feel comfortable with, just from my own personal criteria. So
sure.
I think best of luck with it all. And I completely agree with what Nick said. The analysis here is absolutely brilliant, which obviously we'd expect from someone in your role and of your intelligence. So yeah, I think it's great, but it's not for me.
Do you know anything about the seller? Who is the seller?
Yes. Let me be clear. It is a charity with property interests.
Okay, so they might not critically need timing of a sale. Okay, here's where I'm at in terms of an offer.
I know what you're going to say. Sadly.
Means you can beat it.
I think this proposal should be made subject to planning.
Spot on. Knew that you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Well, we think alike then, in some ways.
That's a bit spooky.
In some ways.
That's a bit spooky.
And we should go back to them
Yep.
and offer a higher price.
Yep.
Subject to planning, it's a higher price. If time is not critical to the sale, a charity has a duty to give basically optimum value.
Yeah.
So we should go back to them with a proposal to offer a higher price, and we can agree on that once we've kind of looked through it together. Yeah, we'll do it conditional on planning, and basically, I believe the exit should be by getting some kind of agreement to let on the ground floor and exiting with planning permission to a developer to sell on, and on that basis. I'd be able to come, willing to come with you 50-50 on that.
I think you are. I should think you are.
And of course, you know, we've done a lot of these developments, and as John always says, do a lot in the M25.
So, I mean, as with all investments, it's high risk for high reward. I'm looking for a disproportionate return relative to the risk that I'm taking. I'm like a bookie. I'm looking for a wrongly priced horse on a race.
Yeah.
And this is appropriately priced risk for the reward. And I think that's a bit beyond where my appetite is right now.
I mean, Ranjan's really stole my my line really, because I absolutely I see this as a offering more money, or offering, if not more money, offering a 100,000 non-returnable. You know, chuck 100,000 at it, which means you're chucking 225,000 at it.
Could offer some overage, John.
To get planning. You could offer them overage. Thank you for the advice
Give
there.
value
Good
value
point.
to the charity as well. That.
Yes, there is. You could do it that way. I have the appetite of it potentially subject to planning, which it isn't, so we can't really bid on that basis, Ranjan, I don't think, unfortunately. But I think... like you said, everyone said everything. I'd love to work with you, and I don't think we're far off on this deal. But I just don't really want to tie up £700,000 with a council that are going to take forever to make a decision. And so on that basis, unfortunately, and I might well regret it on the way home tonight, I'm going to decline on this occasion. So I think, unfortunately...
You're stuck with Ranjan.
Hang on. Where was that in the script? No. You have one offer, Sayu.
You have one fabulous offer.
You have one offer if you can pull it round. So if you can pull the deal round from where it is now to a subject to planning deal. Yeah. And if you can do that, you've done a wonderful job. And Ranjan and yourself would work really well together. I appreciate that. And I may well kick myself on the way home.
Well, look, I like the way you're trying to de-risk the proposition. I think it's in both our interests, so happy to accept that and move forward.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
He answered everything we threw at him there, and it's really interesting that the polite declines were not because of him.
No,
it was the risk and actually kind of the amount of capital tied up.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of money for
if that wasn't in London, I'd have been all over that. The appetite, it's such a battle. And of course, these London councils are shooting themselves in the foot because, good developers are looking at them and saying, well, it's just too much hassle. That's not good for any local community whatsoever.
So I hear a congratulations is in order?
Yes, thank you very much.
Brilliant, well done. Were you quietly confident that this is going to be a good deal?
I think so. I mean, from my perspective, I just felt that the return versus the risk was pretty well balanced.
Yeah.
And given that location and that building, I felt that we were pretty well calculated as to what we could achieve and how we'd achieve it.
Yeah, amazing. So who was the investment from in the end?
Ranjan.
Okay, great.
So they're very pleased, thank you.
Great, so what's the next step for you then?
I believe we will try and kind of share a couple of ideas as to how we best approach the acquisition, subject to planning versus, acquiring as is. and then hopefully we'll try and secure it over the next week and kind of move on from there.
Excellent. Well done you.
Thank you very much.
Time to get off to celebrate.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Hello, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in particular that you'd like to work with?
Well, anyone. I just need the experience. So I'm very new to the property investment. So obviously it's very important for me to have one of the angels, so then they can walk me through like a baby steps.
Yeah,
so I can,
sure.
Yeah, I can use their knowledge, expertise, and so that can be guiding me through for my next future generation as well.
Well, best of luck.
Thank
We're
you.
going to send you in shortly.
Yeah.
Relax. Take your time. You'll be fantastic.
Thank you.
And I will speak to you when you get out.
Will do.
All right.
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property. Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.
Hello everyone, my name is Dilwar Rahman. I'm originally from Bangladesh and I came to UK 2002 and I live in Portsmouth. I'm a driving instructor. I've been doing this for 13 years and I always wanted to be a property investor, and that's why I am back again into property business. I have done some property investments in past in the international countries. I've done it in Bangladesh, a few commercial properties. Before I started this time again the property business, I thought I'm going to gather some knowledge about the UK property. So I've done a mastermind course from somewhere else, and I've learned different strategies about the different properties in the UK, what I can do, what I can't do without my own money. Now, the deal I have got today is a commercial to residential conversion.
Yeah.
Which is based in Portsmouth, based in Fareham town centre.
Okay.
The property asking price on the market is £275,000, and I managed to put an offer forward £280,000, subject to planning and all that. The reason I put the £280,000, there is a lot of interested parties going on. There is the estate agent. The lady, she already told me people are interested to buy this property on a cash. So she said, if I really want to win the bid, I need to think about something over the asking price. She said somebody already close to asking.
Or perhaps have an angel help you.
That's what I'm here
Absolutely.
for.
That's what we're here for.
I need a cash.
Absolutely.
I need a cash buyer.
Yeah, good.
This building is a 3-story building.
Yep.
So ground floor is 139 square meter long, and uppers to rented to at the moment is to an office, which they pay £6,000 per annum.
Yep.
And it's a law society business law lease at the moment, and their lease already ran out 31st of October 2018. But landlord had some discussion with them about renewing it, but nothing has been confirmed.
So that's what's called holding over. So when someone's holding over a lease, they wait. It's run out, but they're still in situ and they're still paying the rent, which is fine. It's not a problem.
So purchase price, I put offer on 280,000.
Yep.
Hasn't been confirmed whether it's been accepted or not.
Okay.
The conversion cost from 2 builders I had so far. The guy, obviously we couldn't go and visit the property yet, the upstairs, because there is a tenant, and the landlord, the agent, she said to me, if my offer has been accepted, they will make an appointment with the tenant, and then we'll go around with our builders.
That's quite normal. So they worked the price out from the plans, have they?
We haven't. He estimated the
yes,
builder.
That's fine.
I showed him the floor plan, and he gave us 80,000 roughly,
yeah, that's
including
fine.
VAT.
For the moment, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem.
And I put the contingency on that 16,000 on 20%.
Yeah,
and the professional stamp duty, legal, planning cost, another £26,000 approximately.
Mm-hmm.
And total cost £402,000 and 200.
Yep.
And total GDV on this is 560,000 to 640,000.
Okay.
Developer profit is 157,800 to 240,000, 42,800. profit on GDV, on cost, is 39% to 59%.
Very good.
And completion time, the builder said he can finish here within 3 to 4 months, but I said, no, it's not realistic, so I'll probably say 6 months.
Sensible.
So I'm looking exit here between 8 to 12 month maximum.
Okay, lovely.
Okay.
Well done. Thank you very much indeed.
Any
Super.
questions?
So, Nicholas,
Great.
do you want to start?
Yeah, really good pack.
Yeah.
So how have you got to your GDV number? Is that by, have you been speaking to local agents?
Okay, so the GDV numbers, all the property, 1 bedroom properties in this area, you look in minimum, cheapest one I found on the Zoopla, Rightmove, 130,000.
Okay.
Okay, and I even asked the couple of property estate agent. They said that's very low end, 130,000. Is high end, is a bit more expensive. So I always went for the 230,000. So if it's a three flat, if I convert into 1 bedroom, 3 flat is 390,000. Then it's still I've got the shop. So I asked them shop value. So she said it's 15,000 per annum, the rental on that. So I used the yield, investment yield to 8%. So you're looking about 187,500. But again, I went for the low end. I said, okay, 150,000.
Okay.
So the total, my estimation is a £577,500, the total value of the property after done all the conversion and stuff like that.
It's good to know that's hopefully a worst case scenario. It could well be somewhere in the middle likely, which is great. So
I would love to do the refinance so they can keep the property.
Yes.
And then the reason why I want to do that, the rental market is quite very handsome in this area. If you look at the rental figures, I put it on there. So if you look in a one bedroom property, it's £700 easy. You can get rented out. If it's a 2 bedroom, £825, and then you've got the shops. So it's quite good for the area. And then another thing, the lovely thing I wanted to do, because I've been running a service accommodation, I wanted to have at least 1 unit for service accommodation, because in that area there is an Amazon factory, there is a Navy, what's it called, the Royal Navy, and then all that stuff. So they're quite demanding in that area. So I wanted to run that, so it's more cash flow can be possible from that property.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
So that's the reason I want to retain that property instead of resell it.
This currently is a sui generis building, which doesn't benefit.
Which means what, Ranjan?
Because it was a casino type place.
So what is sui generis? What's the explanation of sui generis?
Well, it's a usage class, commercial property usage class, which is not usage class E. So there's no PD for that.
Right, gotcha.
She already got the E on there.
I know, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
And this is the thing that many of the buyers will miss.
Right.
There's planning permission for conversion to class E, which was obtained or granted on the 7th of September 2021.
Yeah.
Now, what you want to use to get that flat on the ground floor is Class MA PD conversion.
Yeah.
But one of the nuances of that, it needs to have been in use as a Class E building for 2 years prior to your application.
Okay.
So most people, and a lot of planning consultants, would miss that key point.
Okay.
So the flat on the ground floor is going to be very, very hard to achieve unless you sit there for 2 years.
Okay.
So you will get, because the upper space is offices, you will get those 2 one-bedroom flats.
Yeah.
So you'll need to work that into your costing model when you look at what you can do in a reasonable space of time. And the other area I was fascinated by was your build cost, because we've got 80 grand to do 3 one-bedroom flats, which is 26k a flat. And if you can do 1-bedroom flats for 26k a flat, I'll actually give you 35k and you can do mine. Because that's an offer I'll make to you, because I can't do them for 26.
Thank you very much. But as I said, the builder, he gave you a rough estimation because we couldn't go into the property, and he doesn't know.
I think my point is that will affect the figures, because that's very under.
Even if we take the 35,000, let's say 40,000 each property, the apartment 3 to 120,000, still we got quite a handsome profit in there after taking.
You can only do 2 flats though, unless you keep
on this one other thing I was going to ask you, if you added the 96, which is the next door, and also 88 and 92. They're both of them exactly the same shop. That one here and that one there. They're both exactly the same shop, same exactly. What they did the planning application, and both of them, one of them got 2-bedroom at the back of the shop, and one of them got 1-bedroom, and it's been sold off.
Yes, but what usage class are they? They weren't too generous, probably.
I'm not sure what they were before, but they did full planning application. I spoke to the KD architect who did that. They said, yeah, they exactly the same. And I asked him what's the chances of our one. He said, yeah, it's not a problem at all, because all of this on this street, the exactly same layout of the shop, and they have done a planning application. And I said, how long will you roughly you think is going to take the planning process? He said it's not going to take more than 3 to 4 months, because the Fareham Council is quite good. He said latest is 6 months.
With planning, it's not just what the layout is, it is also what the use is. It's most importantly what the use is. So what Ranjan's saying is that the use of those 2 shops might have been A1, A2, they might have come under certain PD rights, and that's why they got the rights to convert it.
Right.
This one was a sui generis use, which is an all other class. It covers all sorts of things that don't fall within some of the standard planning classes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it won't have had those PD rights.
Right.
I think we have to accept that the king of PD has spoken.
That's why I'm here, because I haven't got knowledge.
No, and I'm learning as well, so
but
don't worry about that.
a lot of people would have missed that, and I bet you
Good. Thank you very much for pointing out.
Will have missed that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for pointing out.
I mean, what I would say is it doesn't preclude you putting in a full planning app for exactly the same thing.
I agree.
And I don't see that would be unreasonably withheld, because if it hadn't have been sui generis, you're absolutely right. It probably would have had PD. And if it's been done on the street and it's acceptable, and the government and the councils do accept that these shops need to be reduced in size, that's the whole point of the PD, they might see it favourably anyway.
If I was to give you the 400 you need, that would likely be on a 50-50 split basis. So we'd be joint venturing, we'd own this site, and the profits from the site, half each.
Right, okay.
So if we were to sell it for 600 grand, we get back 300 each. But if you were to keep it, obviously I would need my 400 back.
Right.
And unless I'm staying in the deal, I suppose, as a 50-50 owner, and therefore benefiting from 50% of the rents, I would need my profit back. Is your idea that you keep the investor in this long term, or that you take us out when it's done?
It's your choice.
Fair enough.
I'm flexible.
Okay.
I don't think it's quite big enough. I think, I do like these kind of schemes. I also love PD, done lots and lots of conversions, but they tend to be a little bit bigger, and if you're sharing it with someone else, it kind of dilutes it further. It's the same effort to do this as it would be to build 32 units, which I'm currently just about to start building in Reading. And so for me, it's not, not one for me on that basis.
Okay.
But you're doing great, and good
Thank
luck
you
on your
very
journey.
much. Thanks for your advice.
Helen.
Because of kind of what Paul and I have worked out with the numbers, and that there would be money required to be left in the deal, that's not the way that's not the investments I choose. So it's not for me, but well done for finding it.
Thank you.
I think we've all learned something from Ranjan, and you have too today.
Thank you for your advice.
You can, find something. But no, well done. Thank you for coming along.
Thank you.
So for me, it isn't for me. It's the sort of thing I like to do. And I would urge, from my personal point of view, I would urge you to contact me later with a better deal.
Well,
so,
thank you.
Feel free to contact me, because we've met now, and I believe we could do something together.
Thank you.
But not on this occasion.
Thanks for your
Ranjan, pleasure.
Find a Class E shop that's been there for 2 years and contact me. I'm
That's
the one
2
that does
offers.
this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem.
But thank you.
That's
Paul?
okay.
Yeah, look, I think we all want good deals presented to us, so feel free to contact any of us. But, for all the reasons that everyone has said, and I've said myself, I don't think this is the deal for any of us, including you.
Yeah.
But great work
I think that's
putting it
right.
together, and great work presenting it. You're on the right tracks as far as understanding how to find a good deal. But I think, unfortunately, Ranjan has found a hole in this one.
And it's a technical hole that not many people would, so I don't fault you
fair,
for finding
the next one.
I'd have had to check with my planning consultant to find that hole.
I will look for next time.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Well done.
Thank you very
Good
much.
job.
Well
Thank
done.
you. Bye-bye.
It's a good find, is on the right track, a lot of opportunity in shops and uppers, but not all shop and uppers are alike. That is the key. And I think estate agents and a lot of people don't understand this stuff, and that yes, 4 people might be bidding for it and paying cash, but they'll all find out the nuances in due course.
But don't you think that's what's so great about this show, is that even if someone comes and doesn't get what they want, they've learnt so much, and actually we might have saved them
Yes.
Save them from making a big mistake.
So how does it feel now you're out the room?
Oh, I feel a lot of relief. Yeah, that was really stressful. Now I'm still shaking, but it's a lot better now.
Yeah, good shakes?
It's a good shake, definitely.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Good.
That was a big experience for me
Yeah.
in my career, I would
Good.
say.
Good,
Yeah.
really, really positive then.
Absolutely. I had lots of positive feedbacks, and I've got some exchange contacts, so which is amazing. Even if I didn't get the funding for this time,
Yeah.
but I've got a few more deals already lined up, so I think
Brilliant.
I already got the investors.
Great, so you
Yeah.
can just go now.
Absolutely.
Well, things got a bit heated today between our angels. Not everyone walked away with the backing that they wanted, but they did leave with some invaluable knowledge and experience. That's all we've got time for today. We'll see you next time.
Property Elevator is proudly sponsored by Crowd Property.